So, our first guest today knows a lot about being attacked for telling their story, their truth. George M. Johnson is a New York Times best-selling author and activist, but their memoir, All Boys Aren't Blue, is one of the most banned books in the country. At least 29 school districts have barred students from being able to read it. But that's not stopping George, who is fighting back. Here to tell us all about it, please give a warm welcome to George M. Johnson.
Good morning, everyone.
George, it's such an honor to have you here. And before we get into your memoir, I want to ask you about how some retailers like Target are removing Pride-themed products from their stores after getting pushback. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate. After all of these years, we have, seen Pride campaigns continue to grow. We've watched our visibility, our representation continue to grow. And we only have 30 days to really, fully embrace and celebrate that. When you look at what they're doing to retailers, it's disgusting. It reminds me of the roots in the past of what our ancestors had to fight against. No one is indoctrinating children to be queer. I am someone who grew up, who knew that I was different and was looking for some type of visibility and representation, television, in film, in books, in stores. So when you see this happening, it's like, what really is at issue with people celebrating other people who actually exist and who have always existed. I wish more corporations would speak up. I wish more people would speak up against this because, maybe we'll start saying we don't like they little, Confederate flags hanging up.
Right. Exactly.
And, because I'm always about that. So, I love a little tit for tat. So maybe I'll start a campaign to get these Confederate flags that I have to see at all the stores.
Well said, sir. Now, I heard that your book is inspired by a Toni Morrison quote that I hear you have a tattoo of. Can you tell us what that quote is and what inspired you to write your memoir?
Yeah, the Toni Morrison quote is, if there's a book you want to read and it hasn't been written yet, then you must write it. I remember being the teenager who had no books to read. I remember having to be forced to read about Holden Caulfield, the most privileged white kid in book history. But I didn't get to see images of myself. I didn't get any type of roadmap to know how I was supposed to navigate life. And so now I wanted to provide something for the teen that I once was so that they could have their own roadmap, so that they know that they have history, they have legacy, and to also correct the ahistorical truth that has been told about queer people, that has been told about Black people, and specifically that has been told about the United States origins. I think about Gen Z being the most powerful population that we have in the country, how they will be the future, and I wanted to give them a bridge to build empathy with their classmates that sit to the left of them and sit to the right of them, whose stories they may have never known.
Ooh, you wrote the book yourself. You did the quote. Unbelievable. All right, your memoir came out 3 years ago. Now it's one of the most banned books across the country. Why do you think your book specifically is being targeted? And I really just want to know, without all the sound bites, how does it make you feel to be banned?
This is one of the only lists I will ever make with Toni Morrison, so I'm good with it.
Great answer.
But realistically, I don't take it to heart when it comes to the banning of my story, because I know they're not banning my story because these people don't read. So I can't even question that part of it. Realistically, my book is being banned because, one, the cover of the book is very, it speaks volumes. The cover and the title already tell you what world you're about to enter into. Two, I know that this title, this work is being banned because they know how powerful Generation Z is. The 2019 census basically showed that Gen Z was going to be more non-white than white, and they would be the first generation that would ever in this country be that. But also showcased that they were identifying 20% LGBTQ already.
Yep.
Those two factors stoked in irrational fear that the majority was about to become the minority. And our texts were starting to mirror what the actual classrooms looked like. Our texts were starting to empower teens to question. Teens already question everything, but now we were giving them the answers to the questions. And so that was why all of our books are starting to be banned. And, you know, I tell everyone, I know that they don't read the book because the chapter they're upset about is chapter 11, where I start to talk about sex. I think they would have been much more upset about what I said about Thomas Jefferson, Abraham Lincoln, and George Washington in chapter 5 if they actually read the book. Because, you know, that's their faith. So I know they're not reading the book. That's really what this is about shutting down Gen Z from actually becoming the next CEOs, the next governors, the next presidents who actually work on changing the United States from a place of empathy that includes every community.
Good for you. And I agree with you. And first of all, the cover of your book is beautiful.
Stunning.
Yes.
Beautiful. I have to ask you, have you heard from teens and young adults, by the way, who this book is meant for, okay? It's not meant for 5-year-olds, who have actually gotten the chance to read it? What have they told you?
Yeah, it's been beautiful. I actually have to send a check off today to an artist who I met at a high school who made a painting based off of what they read in my books. And I'm purchasing his first piece of art.
Oh, wow.
And so I think that's what this is about for me. But I've seen teens at school board meetings name their abusers because of reading my book. I've had beautiful messages and emails from teens who have decided to change their pronouns, who have decided to even change their names. I also get beautiful messages from their parents who say thank you, like because we didn't have a guide either, and this book became our guide. And so I think that's what keeps me going, is knowing that this book is doing that real healing work in the world. A lot of people forget about is necessary, especially for teen readers.
Good for you.
He wrote
Good
the
for
book.
you.
He wrote his own book.
Lots of courage saving lives. DBL Nation, you can find George's book, All Boys Aren't Blue, wherever books are sold. George, we wish you the best of luck. And DBL Nation, as a reminder, don't judge someone without getting to know them or their book first. George, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Shout out chapter 5.